Okay, guys, really looking forward to spending another episode with y'all here on the Artisan Central podcast. I usually get this podcast out in the morning, Saturday morning, and obviously that did not happen today because of my interview with Alex. I'm going to be doing some quick editing this evening, and you're going to have this podcast by Sunday morning, hopefully by Saturday night, but we'll see how that plays out. Thank you very much for listening. Please make sure if you have any questions or comments that you either let me know on my YouTube channel, Tim Michael Arts on YouTube, or of course you can send me an email at artisancentralpodcast@gmail.com. Love getting your emails. Look forward to hearing more from you guys in the very near future. Feel free to buzz me anytime you want. So, lots of good news. As you guys might know, I did upgrade our stuff, so now we can have unlimited podcasts. There are lots of things I hope to do with that in the very near future, and working with Alex, doing a couple different shows with him every now and then to talk about websites and things. That's been a lot of fun. Look forward to doing more of those. I also have some other interviewees that we will have on here in the next few weeks, hopefully, and when we don't, then you get to listen to me talk about whatever I want. So, anyway, I am really excited to spend another evening with y'all here on the podcast, and whether you're listening to it in the morning or the evening, it is Saturday evening for me over here in rainy Orlando, Florida today. So, and that's just how it goes. You get your nice weather, you get your hot weather, and actually it's been cold for the past few days, and it's been very unusual with how quickly it fluctuates from literally 40 degrees one day to 82 degrees today within a one-day span. It's kind of interesting. Anyway, I hope that you guys have had an excellent week, and I hope that you've enjoyed the Tim's Public Diary that I've been posting once or twice a week. And if you are not yet on either iTunes or Stitcher and downloading this onto your device, you should check that out. Look up look up Artisan Central Podcast on either iTunes or Stitcher, and please leave a review if you are there. I would love it and greatly appreciate it. For all you other guys that listen to this via the Tim Michael Arts on YouTube channel, then I strongly suggest you go and take a look at downloading it from iTunes or Stitcher. And the reason is you guys are missing out on the Tim's Public Diary entries. And if you want to just hear my personal opinions about being a YouTube producer or being an artist in general behind the scenes, then that is something you really need to check out, I think. If you like it, let me know. If not, let me know. And you're more than welcome to leave kind comments. Just make sure to keep them clean, because that's what we do on the podcast. All right? So we have a lot of different stuff that we're going to be talking about. I had a 40-minute interview with Alex once again, because we could talk about technology forever, and had a really good time with him. Going to have to edit that down, obviously, because that's not going to fit anywhere into this podcast, considering that the whole of the podcast I try to keep to about 45 minutes. So we'll see how that actually plays out. But let's go ahead and get into our second segment, and that's the question and answer time from my YouTube channel. If you guys want to leave any questions, you can either send them to me at artisancentralpodcast@gmail.com, or of course, go to youtube.com/Tim Michael Arts and leave it a comment on any of my videos. I look forward to many more questions from you guys, and I love answering them, especially here on the podcast. It gives me stuff to talk about, and that's a lot of fun. So let's go ahead and get into segment number 2. All right, so let's go ahead and do a question or a comment from my YouTube channel. This one is a question, and it's from Geek and Good, posted about 3 days ago. And the question is, I have a question for you. Do you care what program you need? Like, do you feel you should have CS6 instead of CS5? I think that is an amazing question, and one that I've actually really been looking forward to answering here on the podcast. So let's go ahead and talk about that real quick. I think that it depends on what you're doing, okay? Every time that Adobe comes out with a new Photoshop, new Illustrator, new whatever, they try to put new components in it to interest people to buy. Now, I admit, as an artist, I have not seen a lot of new software updates come out that truly affect an artist and our skills in a digital program like Photoshop. So I do know artists who run CS3 still as their main art program. And for those artists, I'm impressed and thankful because there are certain features that are missing from CS3 that I appreciate, like screen rotation, where I think it's CS5 and CS6 you can actually rotate your screen as you paint, which I think is very necessary for me. Might not be necessary for other people, but I would strongly advise that as something that you might want to have in your arsenal. But honestly, when it comes down to it, you really do not need to upgrade to the latest and greatest thing. And that's simply because, we only need simple components. We need good quality brushes. We need good quality erasers. We need good quality layers where we can change those layers to multiply, overlay, and do different features like that. We need basic effects for lighting and things like that. All of that, 90% of that, you can find in an older version of Photoshop. So do I feel like I need to have CS6 over CS5? Not really. Do I like to stay up with things, and am I a very expensive person and I like having the latest and greatest thing? Yeah, that'd be me. So when it comes down to it, I don't think that you need to have the latest and greatest. But let me give you one more example where I do think it's good to have the right software. Photoshop is absolutely terrible with inking. The inking quality I personally don't like. I think it's a beautiful program when it comes to doing paintings, more of a painterly approach, and I think that that's something worth sticking to. But I'll be honest with you, when it comes to inking and details like that, Photoshop takes a second base for me. I strongly suggest programs like, two programs I would suggest right now would be Manga Studio EX5 and Paint Tool Sci. Those are the two that really stick out in my mind as amazing inking programs. Not to mention the fact that they do automatic smoothing to your lines. So if you're trying to smooth out your lines purposefully, there is a system built into them where I can draw and tell the system to make my line smoother. One of the things, though, that I've found in the past, like working in Illustrator uses vector lines, and as you draw, it totally re-changes the sizing of the lines, and it's uncontrollable and a little haphazard, if you will. And when it comes down to that point and how that stuff is, I strongly suggest that a program like Illustrator is not good for that, because when you're an artist and you're drawing by hand, you have a certain style with your pen strokes. Every time you put your hand to your paper, there is a piece of you going into that drawing, and you can see, people can look at your art, look at your line quality and say, hey, yeah, that's a Tim Michael piece, and I find that when you use a program that overcorrects, like Illustrator does, and overcorrects your line quality, you lose that personality that's shown in your art. So if I draw through a program like that, people can't say that's a Tim Michael piece, because it removes what makes my art unique, and it computerizes it a bit too much. So I strongly suggest programs like Manga Studio EX5 and Paint Tool Sci as programs that are really, truly good for inking, because those specifically, even though they correct and clean up the lines better, I don't personally think that they affect my style. I think that the style still shows through each line. It still shows my overall quality, and I think that that's key. So, do I suggest that, I do suggest, let me just say it this way, I was going to pose it in another question, but I'll just put it this way. If you are a certain style of artist, whether you're a cartoonist, caricaturist, painter, whatever the case may be, there is a program that might suit you better than Photoshop. There's a program that might suit you better than Manga. There's a program that might suit you better than Paint Tool Sci. In another note, which is something I will probably bring up in the future as well, I have actually been experimenting with the new Autodesk Sketchbook, and I think it's like $24.99 a year to have it for desktop, and I think $5 or $6 to have it on your tablets. I am actually rather impressed with the quality that I'm finding through the desktop app. I will continue to mess with it, and I may make some tutorials on it in the future, but for right now, I am slightly amused by it, and I've been having fun with it. If you guys follow me on Instagram, and it's just Tim Michael Arts on Instagram. You'll see that I did a drawing of kind of myself. I tried to beef it up and tried to make it look like kind of This Is Sparta kind of look. And then I also did one of Eddie Murphy because my wife and I were watching Dr. Dolittle the other day. So those were both drawn on, one I think was done with my Cintiq, but the Eddie Murphy drawing was actually done with my Intuos 5 medium board, and that was done in Sketchbook, the new version of Sketchbook that's just come out. And they've definitely simplified because they used to be Sketchbook Express, Sketchbook Pro, and now they've just gone back to the original name Sketchbook, and I guess that would be also considered the Pro version, and they're charging a yearly subscription for that. So something to check out if you guys want to kind of broaden your horizons in software. Okay, so that will answer that question, I hope. Please make sure that you send me some more questions. I love your questions. You can leave comments on any of my videos in my YouTube channel. I will see them. And then secondly, of course, drop me an email, artisancentralpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate your questions. It makes me feel connected to y'all. Love answering them, and I love to hear that you guys are listening and appreciate the answers back. It is always awesome to have Alex Bangle with us, the tech tip guru, and you might know him from one of his other channels as well. But we are going to continue our conversation a little bit more about websites and, of course, tech, because that's just what we do here. So, Alex, welcome back to another episode.
Thank you for having me back.
It is always fun, man. Last time we chat, a couple weeks back, we really covered a lot about what would be good for a starting artist with the idea of building your own website, working with a WordPress system. We really kind of want to go into that a bit deeper, and this might require a little bit more knowledge of coding, but at the same point in time, I'm hoping that we'll make some sense out of this. Before we started this, I was asking Alex, okay, what is this? What is that? Because he's already going over my head a little bit on some of the stuff, and I used to run a website service, so we're going to have a nice conversation here. One of the things that we were discussing is the obvious stereotype of what everyone thinks WordPress is. Everyone thinks it's a blogging site. It started as a blogging site and has gone from there. You want to add to that?
Yeah. I think even when I first started looking into WordPress, I had the same idea of like, okay, it's a blogging site. It's a very basic platform. But as I got more into it, I realized there was a powerful community of people behind it, a development community that made it into much more than just a blogging platform. And so a couple of the cool things that I started running into with WordPress was realizing that plugins could open up WordPress to be much more than just a site that people go to. WordPress could be opened up into a community type site or a business type site more than just posting blogs.
You were mentioning all the way to a social website.
Yeah, there's plugins such as like BuddyPress, where you can actually turn your WordPress site into your own social media site. I haven't used that. I've seen it and it looks like it's pretty good, but it's surprising to find out how many sites, when you go to them later, to find out, oh, that was actually a WordPress site. Yeah,
exactly. Well, in the company that you've done your work with, you're saying that their websites are all WordPress sites, and I've gone to those and looked at them, and I go, that looks nothing like a WordPress site, which is the benefit to it. You can run away from the whole aspect of a blog and yet still have a blog. You can have an internal blog within the WordPress website, and you can have a website that looks like it was completely developed and built by you without any kind of thing at the very bottom of the page saying, this website was built by WordPress. That stinks when you see that.
Exactly. No, you can totally take the site. You can have a homepage that's, very unique, very clean, professional looking. You can have pages for your content, and then you can still have a whole blog on the side of that.
I think the major selling point that really sold me, and I think because of the selling point, other companies are going the same route, would be the idea of widgets and how widgets work in a website. When you and I would build websites when we were younger, and how you guys would when you were learning how to do it in school, you would get your tables out and you would code everything into your individual boxes, and you would build a very structured square box website. This is not designing outside the box. You know, everything was done at a table. Everything had its place. And now that's gone so much further. But explain the idea a little bit more of what a widget is and how it works and corresponds with the page.
Yep. So in WordPress, widgets are one of the most powerful things that you can do, because you have the page, which is where you can put like the body of the content, but then there's so much more, like the header and the footer and the sidebar. And so the widgets are actually the places where you can change content that will change across the entire site. But with some more powerful things in WordPress, you can download a framework for WordPress. And this is it's a mix of a plugin and a theme. One of the ones that I've used before is Gantry, which is Gantry. And that framework, it's a plugin that you install, and you install a theme that supports it. And then once you do that, you can make different widgets for every single page on the site. So you could really have almost every single page of your site look completely different than the rest of the site. So widgets are a great way to, enclose, certain information and, stick it somewhere on the page. And being able to have that click and drag type environment where, let's say you install a new plugin. Well, when you go to the widget page, you can often just drag that plugin to a widget. Let's say the widget is the sidebar. You just say, okay, I want this in the sidebar. You drag it over there, and it's there. It's working. You don't have to worry about making a div to hold
div
it,
tag and
or a table, and make sure your alignment's right. Like WordPress takes care of a lot of that stuff, and a framework add-on to that gets a little more complicated, but it opens up the most of the sites I've built, or I've all been built in a framework, because even if I don't utilize it all up front, I know down the road there's never a limitation. I could tell one page, hey, I don't want the header, the footer, or the sidebar to show on this page. I just want the content of the body. And I can do that. So you can make a landing page that way by not having certain content showing.
And does the framework plugin cost anything, or is that a free plugin?
The Gantry framework is free, and it comes with a free theme. Then you can go and pay for pre-done themes for $40-$50.
Sure.
That have a lot of the legwork done for you.
Or you can make your own. That's also an option. You can get some CSS under your belt and make your own.
Yeah, the built-in the Gantry plugin, and then the basic theme is just going to be a very basic looking website. But the theme and the framework is flexible enough that it has all of the you can turn it into whatever you want at that point.
Very cool. Very cool.
There's another framework called Genesis. I haven't used it, but that's also gotten a lot of high ratings.
No, that's great. That's great. And I've heard. I haven't messed with frameworks, I admit. When you mentioned that to me a little earlier, that caught me off guard. I go, I know I've heard of frameworks in other methods, but I really don't know much about them. So that is informative. I know what I've done personally is when you go into the widgets part of your website and you say, okay, I want to put a plugin of YouTube videos, which is often what I do, on my left sidebar. And what that will do is that will put that widget, on there throughout the entire site. Excuse me, I got the hiccups. So when it comes down to that, I've found that to be an issue. And I was able to fix that by either getting, I think it's dynamic widgets or Widget Wrangler. I think Widget Wrangler. And that allows you to then say, okay, and all this can be found in the plugins that you find on their site. There's a plugins button. You can go there, or Alex has a website that I'm sure he'll mention a little later. That might be a good one to go to. But you would go into the setting and you would say, okay, I want to go ahead and turn it off on these pages, on these static pages, these dynamic pages, whatever. And then you would go to those different pages and you would see that it is off on those specifically. And so that's how I've worked my framework. Now, I admit the inspiring thing for me is that I've built several different websites within one WordPress program, which let's make this plain. I haven't built many different websites. I've built one standard website that is simulated to me many different websites. So you go onto one and it has different widgets. It's got a different feeling and whatever. But I have not been able to change the backgrounds of those. So that's where I could see that framework coming in very cool and very necessary. Obviously, you want to have some kind of cohesiveness amongst your website to all look the same and kind of give it that connection. But if you're really trying to say, I'm much more than I really am, like what I've done with my business when someone calls up on the phone or whatever, I'll say, okay, we'll be right with you. We instead of I or whatever. So as you're building your sites out, you're trying to make it look like you're more dynamic than just you sitting on your couch playing on your laptop working on programming through WordPress. You can then instead set that up so that you can do it a little differently.
Yep.
So
That's exactly. I mean, a lot of themes now do give you the ability to like, I want a different sidebar on each different page, but to be able to open that up to, have each page unique and stand apart from itself.
Sure. Let's mention the next thing we got on our list here, shortcodes. Explain shortcodes.
So shortcodes are, I love them and I hate them at the same time. I hate them because it's like, there's so much happening. It makes it seem so simple, So like, marketing will come to me and be like, hey, can't you just find a shortcode for that? It's like, but there's so much work that goes into it. But a shortcode is basically it's a tag surrounded by two brackets, and you just paste that into the WordPress editor.
Yeah.
Many themes you can even paste it into a widget. You pretty much put this little tag wherever you want, and then wherever you put that tag, it loads some kind of application, some kind of code. And so there's actually plugins out there. Some of my favorite is Shortcode Ultimate or Ultimate Shortcodes. I can't remember which way it goes. But it gives you like 50 different shortcodes, and basically what it is like you can insert a shortcode for a YouTube video.
Sure.
And then you paste in the link, and then the shortcode can actually control some formatting. Do you want the YouTube video to play in this quality? Do you want it to have a white kind of theme or a darker kind of theme?
That's quite dynamic.
And so you can do that with a lot of different things. WordPress has a horrible time at handling like columns in a page. It's pretty much just a chunk of text. And so if you want columns, you have to go into HTML and you have to start writing all the code.
Do your own tables and centering.
So the short code, you can be like, hey, I want a 3-columned piece, and you click insert that short code. It writes,
cool.
It'll write down all the short codes, and then you just type the text in between those brackets. So it's kind of like HTML code where you're typing stuff in between codes.
Sure.
But it's way simplified.
I think we've seen that a lot in a lot of other websites where they'll use an image code tag, if you think about it, and you'll just say open door, IMG, closed door. You put your link for your picture in there, and then you do a close bracket, and you're done. And there's a lot more that goes into that code than what meets the eye there. Because in real HTML, you're dealing with image, source. Now you got to give the source for the image, and then do you want to put an HTML link around that? Well, then you got to go around that code, and you got to go, and it's just an ongoing thing. So that's pretty cool. And I was trying to think a little bit more about that if we wanted to continue on that. But honestly, the next one down in our list is very appealing to me. It's something I've worked with before in the past. One thing that I've messed with and I had some success in, but at the same time I had like a major epic failure. And that's the idea of having a forum on your WordPress site. Now, I wish I could remember what the name of the software was that I used, and it had to be uploaded separate from the WordPress. It was actually in my server, so if you guys know anything about websites, they're not a website per se. They are a dedicated part of a computer or a virtual drive or what would be called a server. And that server has a page that you would go to, and that's basically the website. So when you are purchasing from a hosting service to have a website hosted, you're basically saying, I want a small chunk of your server's memory to put my website on, and so that people can see it. So you're basically working on a computer, if you will. And one of the things that you have to do is work with something called an FTP, a file transfer protocol. And you would upload different things into this website that are either viewable by the public or not, depending on how you have that set up. So what I would have is I had my WordPress site in one part, and then I'd have my forum in another part. And I want to say it's called like PP3 or something like that was the name of the forum service. While I had that forum, I did have quite a few users. I think we had maybe 20, 30 different users actually in the forums as active members of the forum. But the thing I found is I was also getting an awful lot of spam, and I mean very, very bad spam, and it was hard to keep up with it. I had my moderators working hard and stuff like that. I think you found something new and exciting and much more simplified. Please share that.
Yes. So again, talking about the WordPress plugins and how there's a huge community of developers already out there, there is a plugin for WordPress called bbPress, and it's a free plugin. I believe it has some paid features that you can add on to at some point. But you literally just go to plugins. You add, it's right in the WordPress store. You install this plugin, and a few clicks later, you have the ability a full-fledged forum, and it's kind of neat because it does separate itself enough from WordPress that it's customizable, but it's also plug and play enough that you don't really have to, do much with it. So every user that's in your WordPress site has a WordPress permission, and then they have a forum permission. So they can be a moderator of your forum, but no access to your WordPress site.
Nice.
And then you can control, you can say, I want to control all of the forums and all the topics, or just the forums, and users can create their own topics. You can drill down into the permissions pretty well.
Very cool.
Out of the box, it works. I've used it internally, and testing it on my new site. But there's definitely room. It's one of those plugins where it works out of the box, but then there's a lot of room to customize it and tweak it later. And again, that's why I love WordPress. You can get something running, in an afternoon, and you can continue to make it better over the next year.
Let's talk a little bit more real quick about new tech that's out. Alex, you had a really cool video on YouTube on your channel. And real quick, Alex is going to be putting a lot of effort into his new channel, and I really want you guys to keep an eye out for it. It's Tech Tip Guru, and he's going to have a website that is under development right now, techtipguru.com. And definitely make sure you check that out. I am expecting a lot from this guy in the very near future with a lot of very cool stuff. It's going to be something to keep an eye out for. And looking forward to working with him on quite a bit of stuff, including getting his logos and stuff ready after the Christmas season, because it's busy.
That's going to be exciting.
That's going to be a lot of fun.
No, some of the new technology that came out, it's not really high-tech, but it's more of the budget-friendly stuff that we've always come to expect, PCs to be a budget-friendly type thing.
Right.
With all the new Windows tablets and even some of the new hybrid tablets that have come out, the prices have kind of gone back up. And so HP, and I believe they partnered with Microsoft, or Microsoft worked it in a way to where they could make their software actually, I think they made it free to HP. But they actually came out with 2 new tablets and 2 new laptops, and they have the HP Stream series. So they have the HP Stream 7 and 8, which are a 7-inch and an 8-inch tablet. The 7-inch tablet, which is the one that I have here, is only $100. Comes with a year of Office 365. And, it's not going to be a mind-blowing tablet, but given its portable size, it runs full Windows 8. It's going to do, anything... any of the basic features that you would normally throw at a tablet.
Sure.
I'm not going to be able to play, the latest 3D game on it, but it's going to get that basic stuff done.
And of course, you're going to have some gaming on there and stuff. Now, you're saying that's running Windows base? Windows 8?
Running full Windows 8.1.
8.1, okay. Now, let me ask you, you seem to be a fully Windows guy with most of your devices. Is that because you like Office? Do you like the user interface? I don't know many people who claim they actually like the user interface, so I want to hear your point on it.
No, I don't like the new interface of Windows. I like the classic. Now, I do like the new interface when it comes to a tablet, because that does feel nice. It does flow nice. As far as everything I have being mostly Microsoft, the reason I've done it is to simplify on one ecosystem, because I used to be, I used to like Google all the time. I had like half Google, half Microsoft. I never really got too much into Apple products, but it came to a point where it's just like, nothing works as well as it should when you're crossing ecosystems.
Sure.
And so it came to like, okay, which ecosystem do I want to rest on? And because at my job all day, I'm working on Windows servers, and I spend, 8-9 hours a day on Windows computers. It just made sense to just commit to that ecosystem.
Right.
Because as I'm working in this, then I can go to my job and be like, hey, there's this new feature that came out. And so, it's either you stretch yourself across everything or you try to become an expert in one area. So I do put a lot more effort into Microsoft and Windows. But, that's not because I think everything else is garbage.
Sure.
It's just kind of where I've landed at this moment. And, 2 years from now, maybe I'll switch over to something else. Because I was all about Google, 2-3 years ago.
Yeah. Well, Google continues to make a comeback with a lot of their new technology, and my personal opinion right now is that Apple's kind of on a kind of feel right now. Everything new that they've come out with just feels like it's kind of, let's make things skinnier and skinnier. Yeah. And sure, they seem to be supposedly making the battery power better, but I would like to see them keep it the same size and put more focus on more battery and more power.
I totally agree. I think, we need 2-3 day long devices,
yes.
tablets and phones and watches that last
Yeah.
days.
Yeah. I have a pair of headphones that I use constantly. It's a Bluetooth headset. It's a yoke that goes around your neck and earbuds that go in your ears. I can make that thing last a whole day of constant, loud, blaring music into my head without a problem. If that little device can support that much power, then there's got to be some way where we can make these devices last longer.
Yep.
You know, and if you're just going to focus on making your market the skinnier devices, you're going to start bending stuff, obviously. You know, so and the thing is, most users put their stuff in protective cases.
I love seeing like the iPad Air in a half-inch case.
Exactly.
Like, but you bought it because it was thin.
You've turned it. There are what are those laptops out that are like hard books and they're like really thick. They're
the tough books.
The tough books,
Panasonic
exactly.
Tough books.
You're turning an Air into a tough book. That's just. So why do you care about size? Put your focus more on some other stuff, you know? Yep. I guess Apple's major market is female. I want to lean towards that direction when I look at their product and its sleekness and what you see from the female market. I know my wife has constantly said, I'm thinking about switching to an Android, but for some reason the ecosystem continues to pull her back for some reason. I think it's crack cocaine for women. I don't know, but that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But I'm an Android guy myself. Android and PC, and I use a Mac at work. And I like my Mac at work, but I think you and I have already said this. There's only so much that you can upgrade in those things. And I remember my previous co-host, Austin, he wanted to upgrade some of the stuff in his computer and he couldn't because it was fully integrated in and soldered in. Mm-hmm. So the only way to replace it is to resolder the stuff, and that's going to cost a fortune. So
yeah, that's why I was all about $100 tablet. I'm like, well, I can throw it away in 2 years and not hate myself.
Have you done a drop test yet?
Accidentally, yes. It does survive a drop out of a Jeep Liberty. So
on concrete or grass?
And actually, the back of it popped off.
Oh, really?
And I discovered there's a micro SD card in the back, so you can expand it to up to, I think, 32 or 64 gigs of extra storage.
Is it supposed to pop off?
Yes. I wasn't sure at first, and I'm like, oh, there's an SD card in the... Oh, it is supposed to pop off.
Oh, that's good. That's good, because most devices these days, you don't see that.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the things I liked about my tablet. I got the Samsung 10.1 Note, which I got it specifically so I could have pen pressure sensitivity for drawing. You and I were talking about capacitive versus pressure. And I have to admit, guys, if you're looking for something to sketch on, don't get the Galaxy 10.1 Note. And you might look at some of my work online and go, that doesn't look too bad. It's just not... I'm sorry, I've used Cintiqs. My Cintiq is sitting right next to Alex right now, and that thing is the most beautiful piece of technology I have ever owned in my life. It is a gorgeous piece of machinery, and I use it constantly. When it breaks, my right arm is going to fall off with it because it's a necessity in what I do for a living. And if you try to find anything to match it, you just need to go get the real thing, because I got the Samsung Note. I think I paid $500 for it, which is super expensive. I mean, it's about the right price for a tablet, I guess, but I could have gotten another laptop, you know? And this guy is great. It's super when it comes to apps and things. I can play a pretty decent 3D video game on here, but when it comes down to it, it just does not have the pressure sensitivity or quality. And right now, the ecosystem for drawing apps right now is limited to only a few apps, where I feel like Apple has released quite a few more product. Not to mention that Wacom seems to lean towards Apple when it comes out with its new devices. Wacom's come out with a brand new pen that's a pressure-sensitive pen that runs via Bluetooth. That's great, but sadly they've only geared it towards Apple. Once again, everyone's trying to get to the best market, and supposedly Apple's made that claim. There are a lot of really great drawing apps in Apple, I admit, but I'm waiting for more to come out for Android. Mm-hmm. And I really got excited when I heard that there was a pressure-sensitive tablet that could do that, and it let me down a little bit, but it's a gorgeous tablet. It works fine, and I keep all my notes on it and stuff like that, and I'm crazy on it, so it'll works out. But
cool.
No,
I mean, one more thing that it kind of made me make the decision to kind of use more Microsoft products is there was a while where they were just way behind.
Yeah, they really
I
were.
mean, nothing was cloud. Everything was archaic. And so when they came out with Office 365, I was like, $10 a month subscription.
Sure.
I hate subscriptions.
Exactly.
But I tried it. And actually now I just can't live without it. I love having the Office on all my devices, having now unlimited cloud storage.
Right. Which is good
and then
for your
when
wife.
you look at that for $10 a month, it's not so bad. So so that being able to share that now, because you look at what a licensed Office cost, and I was like, to buy it for my wife's computer, for my tablet, for my computer, just subscribe $10 a month and get all that cloud storage.
Right.
That was really helpful. So they've definitely made some pushes in the right direction.
Sure, absolutely.
But everybody's got a little ways to go.
Yeah. Well, and I admit the thing that scares me is everyone seems to be going month to month in payments, and I know I am too with my website. But when it comes down to it, I understand my fear of having 60 different month to month payments that I'm making out to different companies and things that are $5 here and $5 there. I really hate to feel like I'm putting out so much money. Even though I'm probably putting out that same amount of money, if not more, out front, to get the stuff.
It's ups and down. Buying it up front, you can stretch it out 5 or 6 years and maybe not upgrade. But the subscription, it's easy to budget.
Yeah.
You just go, my monthly budget needs to have $50 for my subscription.
Sure.
And then when you don't have to worry about, the new update came out and I can't afford it. So you got it. So it's good. Has its advantages and disadvantages.
And we did hear just recently, like you had said, that Office 365 is now doing unlimited for its members, unlimited storage. So your wife, who's a professional photographer, we do hope to have her on the show. That's quite useful. Has she utilized that at all?
She's starting to. I mean, it takes a while to fill up a terabyte.
Sure, absolutely.
Plus.
Yeah.
Well, and the other limitation is too even my computer has a 500 gig hard drive in it.
Sure.
So even if I fill that up, I don't fill up the cloud storage, but it allows me to be creative. And maybe if I have multiple devices that have 500 gig hard drives, they can all synchronize to one cloud.
That's pretty crazy.
And then you can say, well, I don't want this folder to synchronize to this computer. So in the cloud, I could have 3 or 4 terabytes, even though I physically don't have that much possible storage.
Wow, that's crazy.
Which is a little scary, but also awesome at the same time.
Sure. And then let me think what else we got going on when it comes to subscription type stuff right now. For those of you who don't know, Amazon Prime does actually offer multiple users to have an Amazon Prime within your family. You can go onto their website, and I don't know where we clicked on it. It wasn't by accident. We were so glad we found it because Christmas is obviously around the corner, and we wanted to get presents for each other. And there's no way to do that when my wife doesn't want me to see what she's purchased. I don't want her to see what I've purchased. And so you can go on Amazon Prime. There is a button that you can click somewhere on there that allows you to add your family as a user. And then a brand new thing that we've just heard come out within the last 2-3 weeks or so. If you are a Spotify fan, Spotify has now also offered the same thing. My wife and I, we pay $20 a month so that we can both have Spotify on our phones, get up and go. And it's already a free service. You can already listen to all the music you want wherever you are on your computer. If you can put your app on the computer, and it doesn't cost anything. You can enjoy whatever music you want. It is the best thing since Pandora, and it beats Pandora hands down. But the thing is, if you want it on your phone, if you want it on any of your tablets or anything like that, anything that's away from your computer, then you have to pay for the service.
Or get commercials.
Or do they do that
You
too?
can do it on your mobile device, but you can't download it, and you get ads and stuff like that.
Okay.
At least I think...
That's not what I was aware of previous.
Maybe that's Pandora I'm thinking of then.
Pandora is definitely that way. DI.FM is that way as well. Digitally imported. That they do a lot of techno trance and music like that and stuff like that, kind of club dance type stuff.
The Spotify thing, that was... Because me and my wife just did the same thing. It's $10 for the base account and then $5 per additional account.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay. Well, then
Which is still better.
Yeah, I'll save $5 for my wife and I. That'd be great. So that is something new that they've just implemented within 2 weeks or so.
The Spotify thing happened not too long ago. And the Amazon thing, one thing I to clarify on is Amazon Prime also comes with video and music, but that is not shareable to the shared people.
Right.
Only the 2-day shipping.
I did find that out, but you got to admit that 2-day shipping is pretty beast.
To share 2-day shipping with 4 family members, I mean, that's worth it.
Well, and
makes the cost a lot more bearable when you think about being able to share it with people.
Makes Christmas shopping so much more fun.
Uh-huh.
Buy now, buy now, buy now, buy now, buy now, buy now, buy now. Yeah, just got my wife a whole bunch of buy nows. With a lot less shipping. Very nice.
Real quick before I forget, going back to the HP Stream series. So they had the 2 tablets that came out, the 7 and 8 inch tablets. I think the 8 inch is not out yet, but they also are releasing the HP Stream 11 and 13, which is an 11 inch and a 13 inch laptop.
That's
to
crazy.
compete with the Chromebook. Those start at $200 and have full Windows 8.1. Now there's no touch screen. It's a very basic looking
laptop.
It's a very basic looking laptop, but it only has 32 gigs of storage.
Oh wow!
But great for a kid who needs a
Sure.
basic laptop. Great for business. Great for things where you don't need a lot of a lot of heavy processing power.
Okay, guys. Well, I hope that you enjoyed that interview with Alex. I mean, we can talk forever about technology and websites and things, and some of it you might feel that it goes over your head a little bit, but I promise you there is a lot to look forward to in building your own website, finding a way to make money through that website, and just creating, using forums to create an ecosystem of community, if you will. And of course, obviously, we're not here just to make people happy. We're here to make money, admittedly. We all have to make a living somehow. And we would all love it to be because our work is decent and because we're selling a good product. But you need a good place to start, and that's one of the important things about a website. So that's food for thought there. All right, let's jump off of that because it is about time to finish up our show. But first, my review of the Big Hero 6. If you guys remember, I actually left a review a couple weeks ago, kind of a pre-review, where I watched a bunch of the different trailers, and I gave my opinion on what I thought would happen within the movie. And I gotta admit, I think I was kind of close. I need to listen back to it, but during the movie, I made some assumptions, and I was right about many of them, I would suggest. Not trying to float my boat or anything, but what I am saying is, like I said, I've always enjoyed kind of trying to pre-figure out what happens in the movie, and I like it when I'm right. My wife hates it when I'm right. She's like, I'm never gonna watch a movie with you again, but she does not sound like that. But it was really fun to go to the movie. My poor wife fell asleep about 15 minutes in. She admitted after the fact that the movie that she had seen so far, about 15 minutes in, was very good, which I have to agree. Guys, let me tell you, watch 5 minutes of the movie. 5-10 minutes of the movie, you will be absolutely in love. The animation is amazing. I love the detail, the quality of the characters. Oh my goodness, what an excellent movie. And I love the premise. I admit, I was thinking it was going to be another spin-off of another old movie or something, or just another old worn-out story, but it was definitely not. It was a very unique, fun, original story. I admit, some of the lead roles kind of unimpressed me. Basically, a character named Hero brings on a cast of his friends who end up helping him, and their uniforms are a little awkward. I kind of get them in some ways, but in certain ones not. One of my favorite characters is a big black dude named Wasabi, and he is really cool. And he screams like a girl, which is just awesome. You gotta love that. But honestly, when you're watching it, you look down at his legs, and it's like an uncompleted uniform. It's like this green top, blue pants that just kind of disappear. And it's like, wow, it feels like they kind of stopped short in his design, And I have to say, amazing characters, great voiceover acting, excellent overall. My wife and I are still quoting different parts of the film. It's absolutely hilarious and worth watching, and very clean, very good for the family. So if you're wanting a movie to take your kids to, definitely suggest it. It is excellent. I'm trying to think. I really don't want to do any spoilers for you guys. I really don't want to mess up the movie for you, but there's always a plot twist. Something good happens that then causes something bad to happen that then causes something good to happen. That was the case in this one. There was no love relationship that occurred in this one, which I think is kind of nice for once. Usually, there's that romantic twist in it that everyone expects to see in a movie that did not happen. But I admit there was a kindred spirit kind of, not a romance, but I wouldn't even know how to say this, but between Hero and Betmax, I think that's what they called him, they really get along, and you start to feel them just really connecting, all the way down to the end point where, sadly, we lose Betmax at the end of the film. But he does come back, and he comes back in a very unique way, and I don't know. I was sold on it. I was sold on the story. It was really good, and I would be sitting next to my wife in the movie theater while she was still awake, and she had a long day at work, and she's like, let's go see a movie, and we both jumped at the idea, and she worked her hardest but just could not stay awake for it, so I felt bad for her. But I enjoyed the movie, and she wants to see it once it comes out. We cheat. We rent it on Amazon as soon as it's out for rent, but we also pre-order the DVD, so we put out double the cost so that we could watch it sooner and then have the collector whatever. But I love her for that. That's pretty awesome. I would like to re-listen over what I previously said about the movie, but I think I got kind of close. I was mentioning the big brother, and I said either he's going to be the bad guy or he's going to die. I was really actually surprised. They did kill him off, sadly, but the thing that I was interested in is they actually had him in the premise of the story at the beginning. He was part of the story. You got to know him. You got to understand his background. You got to understand what he did, and then they killed him off. So he actually became a part of the movie. That was not what I was expecting. Okay, I'm obviously doing spoilers. I am so sorry, guys. Spoiler alert, please fast forward about 5 minutes, and I will try to end this quickly so we can finish the podcast up. But as soon as we saw the professor, and we also saw another gentleman, I don't remember what his name is, when they're talking with Hero about his mini-bots, or whatever those are called, microbots, the instant that I saw it, I said, Professor probably going to be the bad guy. Because the other guy that you're looking at just seemed a little too... I agree, as you watch the movie further, you see them actually give the same assumption that I did. He's too high profile to be the bad guy. And it was definitely a good plot twist, but I was right about it, that the professor that we learn later on in the movie, he does end up being the bad guy, but you'll understand his reasoning as you go into the movie later on. And everything else just kind of fit together, little plot twists here and there. It was excellent, and I just got to say, even if it is, easy to read, which I didn't think it was. I think part of the minority when it comes to pre-reading movies and things like that. My wife slaps me on the shoulder every time I'm like, this is what's going to happen. And yeah, I told you so. But when it comes down to it, the acting was excellent. The animation was enormous. The voiceovers were excellent. I was absolutely a fan. And I'm really looking forward to having it as part of our DVD collection of Marvel films. And really, I would go and see it again in theaters all over again because it was really good. Plus, my wife slept through it, so it might be worth seeing it again. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I really hope that you enjoyed it. I am definitely excited for the future of this podcast and lots of new opportunities that are arising. There is a lot of work that I'm doing right now on caricatures and things like that right now since we're in the Christmas holiday season. So once I get through all of that, it'll be a little bit easier to put more focus on the podcast, among other things. Obviously, you guys might have noticed that you haven't seen any YouTube videos up for the last 2-3 weeks. I am very sorry about that. I do have quite a few caricatures that I have to work on just because of the holiday season, and I would love to share them with you, but a lot of the people who are purchasing are fans of my YouTube channel, or also, I just don't want to put it in public and then spoil a perfectly good gift for the holiday season. If you want to buy caricatures, I won't be able to take too many more, but I can take I can take a few more. You can go to timmichaelarts.com and buy a caricature on the top of the website. The website is undergoing some improvements. You'll notice that the sale tutorials are no longer available, but they will be again soon. I did have them at one point in time as individual purchases, and I have noticed recently that I hadn't been getting a lot of purchases through there because honestly I hadn't been trying to market them very much. A lot of people haven't known about them, and a lot of people that did know have them all and bought them all. So I've pulled them off the web temporarily, and you'll notice that I am making a subscription-based service where you can log into my website, and very soon you'll be able to watch all of those tutorials from my website as a login option. That will be coming up in the near future. I haven't worked out all the details just yet, but that is something that I'm planning on. And then, of course, that would mean that I do need to start working on more tutorials for that, and we'll work on that as time moves on. There's a lot to do to get the website back in working order, and obviously get me back into YouTubing, podcasting, working on the website as proficiently as I used to, and that's because that used to be my full-time job. I used to try and make a living doing what I'm doing right now with you guys. And now that I am happily married, I have a beautiful wife and a good job, I don't have as much time anymore. But it's something I still want to put my mind and heart to. So please be patient with me, and we'll keep working on that, and we'll go from there. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them on YouTube, Tim Michael Arts on YouTube. And, of course, you can go to Artisan Central Podcast. .podbean.com. Very soon it's going to be artisancentralpodcast.com. I'm having some technical issues with that, so keep an eye out for that because that will be changing very soon. And of course, drop me an email, artisancentralpodcast@gmail.com. If you have any questions, comments, or anything like that, I look forward to seeing what you guys think of the podcast. All right, y'all, I'm out of here. It is definitely time to spend some time with my wife, probably watch a movie, enjoy the rest of my weekend, obviously get this edited and get it up on YouTube and on Stitcher and iTunes for you guys. And like I said, if you can please leave reviews everywhere, that would be amazing. If you're on YouTube, please hit that like button if you made it this far into the podcast. And of course, leave comments below. All right. I love you guys. God bless you. I'll see you next time right here on the Artisan Central Podcast. My name is Tim Michael. Please don't forget about me. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.